left, right.
Hey, what's going on over there? Got some interesting topics for you today. Today we're going to be talking about guns. If you haven't subscribed already, you're really doing yourself a disservice. This is SipTalk. Grab a drink and enjoy.
Of course, let's go.
Cheers.
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 I like PBR. I just got priced out of it.
We're all alive here. Welcome to SipTalk, episode 41. Today, we're talking about guns. Before we do that, I'm going to drink my Bud Light Lime.
They're great beers.
Which we sent RT to grab Bud Light, a signature blue can. And we came back with Bud Light.
A limelight.
Bud Light signature frog can over here. What's up, guys? Live. I appreciate you being here. Today, we're talking about guns. Don't shoot me, but I would love to hear your gun stories, your opinions on guns. If you look, we can't see the comments. We get one comment at a time.
Just one now?
Yeah.
What is this?
We got to do this, and then it's
Oh, that's annoying.
it's a pain in the ass. So either way,
Let's update that algorithm.
I'm
You need to get an
drinking.
intern to feed you all the comments that are coming through.
Oh, you don't have any interns right now.
He's no longer here.
Coronavirus. All right, so I'm opening this one up because I need a drink after today. Appreciate you guys watching us. Today we're going to be talking about guns. I want to know right off the bat who owns a gun of the four of us. James, you own a gun?
No. The reason why I don't own a gun, it would be very easy for me to do so because our gun laws in South Carolina are relatively lax, and it's not hard to get a concealed weapon permit. Probably costs you like under $200 in a day of your life to go through the class, and then just the standard federal 3-day or 5-day waiting period, whatever it is, and then you got yourself a gun. But the reason why I don't have a gun is that I know myself well enough that if anything I own, I'm gonna want to use. And
Especially a gun.
yeah,
Well,
well,
I mean, right off the bat, though,
the gun's the one thing that you don't want to use.
It sounds like it's harder to get an abortion in South Carolina than it is to get a gun.
I agree.
Anytime I go to the abortion clinic, they tell me to go away. That's it. They say, but we don't have anything for you. I say, but I don't ever want to have kids. And they say, yeah, you don't know what we do here.
Yeah, I'm lost on that one. But so you don't have a gun because you'd be likely to use it. I feel the same way about gun ownership. I would rather answer the door at nighttime with a baseball bat than with a gun and end up shooting the neighbor's kid or something like that.
How are you going to shoot the neighbor's kid with a baseball bat?
Well, that's why I would the baseball bat over the
Versus the gun.
gun.
Right. The only time that I've actually felt like having a gun in South Carolina would be somewhat handy has been in the 1 or 2 day period before a big hurricane hits, and I'm just like, there's no emergency services. The power goes out and people just decide to stay back and loot or whatever. I'm not really going to have any protection besides some kitchen knives that are going to, they're sharp, but they don't have any range. So I'm just like, it would be kind of nice to have a gun just to get myself through like the 3 or 4 day period when there's no power and there's no emergency services because they all evacuated and I refuse to. But then I get over myself and say, nobody cares about me.
Well, they might want the shit in your house. What I want to know.
Yeah, but they don't know that I have shit in my house.
Anybody who's watching us live, I'm curious if you have a gun. One, so give me a thumbs up if you got a gun, or if you've shot a gun. And James, I know you've shot a gun.
I know you shot a gun because I brought you there.
Yeah. I've also shot automatic guns, which is a wild.
Where'd you do that?
Upstate. I don't even know if that's it was automatic or semi. I don't know. You hold the trigger down, bullets come out.
That's automatic.
You let go, they stop coming out. You don't point it at people, just like the other ones. But what I really have you shot a gun before? No. Have you shot a gun before?
Nope.
Okay,
The first time that I actually handled a gun
was yours. The one you have at home. That was the first time that I actually
So,
Love guns don't count.
so sounded really gay. So,
It's black and it's short. Small, actually. Just in case.
All right, let's move the conversation away from YouTube on this. I will say that you're telling everyone how easy it is to get a gun. That's really interesting in South Carolina. My father just went through the process to get a gun in New York, and it took him up to 11 months from the
So what's that? It
initiation
took him-
of filling out the paperwork, doing it,
What kind of gun?
getting a background check, just a simple 9mm. Like it's nothing.
Like like a Glock, just a handgun, a simple 9mm handgun.
Exactly. So
I could probably have one within a week.
And that's crazy because
Could you
he
get one
filed
and FedEx it?
last year in September and got his gun in the first week of August, I believe.
Yeah, 11 months.
That's
Checks
insane
out.
to me on the different scale of that. And I understand like everyone has their rights and different laws in different states, but it's so crazy here. Like it's so intense.
So yeah, in terms of how different it is down here, so I referee, and a lot of times, especially for my college games, I'll be carpooling with somebody else from Charleston, or sometimes not somebody from Charleston or whatever. And the number of times I've been in a car and they're like, there's a gun in the glove compartment. And at first it was weird, and now just like, all right. Like one dude does property management, and he has to drive around to a whole bunch of rental homes and stuff that his company owns that he has to just check up on. And he's like, I bring my gun with me everywhere I go. It's in my glove compartment. I've got my concealed carry permit when I'm checking up on houses or whatever. Like it's usually like on a holster on the inside of my shirt.
I think that's reasonable, especially when it comes to that job.
Yeah, you couldn't do that in New York City though.
You could not do that in New York City.
Actually, you're not right. You're not right about that. There was a guy who had a bunch of buildings in Hell's Kitchen. He was the landlord's name in the industry was literally Hell's Kitchen. This guy was like built like an ox, and he was in a wheelchair. But in his office, where he had every lease signing, he had a sawn-off shotgun sitting on his desk. Okay?
But was it operational?
Safe in the back behind him of his desk. And every lease signing was so intimidating for every client that would sign leases because there's literally a loaded shotgun sitting on top of his desk right next to him. Like that, like I get that, like, most people in New York City may not have a gun, but this is something that really kind of struck me, and I'm kind of curious in your thoughts on that.
So
It's some kind of a carve out for him, because I was under the impression that like you really couldn't have guns in New York City, that they were really, really strict about it.
well, he's on wheels, so he just
All right.
he could get a couple of built-ins on the arms. So just to mention some of the comments, we got Taisha saying one that you can buy in Texas on the spot.
Inflation? Yes.
And then
No, there's federal guidelines that you have to
But I
that
was
you have
gonna
to wait.
say, I was under the impression, because when I looked in South Carolina, they had it at the pawn shop, and you could just for $300 give them the $300, and it didn't seem like they would just give you the gun over the counter.
No.
I do think there's a little bit of
There's a mandatory waiting period under federal law, and I don't remember if it's 3 or 5 days, but like if you buy a firearm through a registered firearm dealer, then by law they have to send your information to the FBI for a background check and stuff like that. And also just the waiting period in case, like, I want to buy this gun so I can use it today. Well, the 3-day waiting period, so you can kind of think that over.
so if you're in a fury, you're ready to shoot somebody, you can't get an abortion. I mean, you got to wait 5 days before you get a gun.
The gun solves that problem too.
So but that's my point. That's my point. I think we got. I just think it's funny. To me, what I really want to dig into is how I guarantee that we probably got about a 50-50, where 50% of the people, welcome back, would think that the country would be a safer place with no guns, and 50% of the people would think the country would be a safer place without guns. I actually think we would probably have a lot, considerably fewer gun deaths and a lot less violence if everyone had a gun.
I would say that if you had no guns by definition, you would have less gun deaths because nobody would have the guns to shoot each other with.
Yeah, but you have a constitutional right. Everybody needs to feel safe. So
Right, but
everybody feels
But no,
safe.
that wasn't your premise, though. We're not talking about the Constitution. We're
Right.
just saying if there were
Right.
no guns or all guns, what would deaths go up or down? If there are no guns, there could be no gun deaths by definition.
My premise was supposed to be sarcasm.
There will be a black
But, but
But yeah, but like,
But
just address the point as stated.
No, and I'll interrupt. The point of the Constitution was only written at that time to defend yourself against the British invasion back in the 1700s. But now we've turned into this thing like you have to have like 17 guns
to protect us
and
against the Mexicans.
a fucking special forces knife and just like be able to like defend yourself against.
Well, I want to address Justin's point about guns because there's a variety of different types of guns. So you can have handguns, shotguns, hunting rifles, like more military sniper rifles, or you can have semi-automatic guns or automatic guns. So
Well,
you have to what level are we going to set the guns at?
what about these guns?
What ones?
It doesn't even fit in the suit.
This suit hasn't fit you in 3 years.
So
Gun manufacturers don't measure calibers that small, so
Oh wow!
Let's back up a little bit. So we got this array of guns that you're talking about.
Right.
so what level of guns are we going to talk about? Are we going to talk about it's free for all, you can buy whatever gun you want?
Well, I think that's the argument. That's the argument in the line of the Constitution that says man has a right to bear arms.
Again, it's been
Okay,
interpreted
so
many times.
let me tell you a story, and this is true. It was either a year or I think it was a year ago, about a year and a half ago. There was a mass shooting in Ohio where a guy had an assault rifle. For our purposes, if I say AR-15, it just means any semi-automatic long barrel assault rifle, usually in like a .223 or 5.56 caliber. And it was in kind of one of the areas of the city where, like, on a weekend they might shut down a couple blocks so that people can go from bar to bar without having to worry about traffic, right? So there's a lot of people there. There's also a pretty substantial police presence to just kind of make sure that everything going smooth, right? So this guy goes to this area, has an AR-15, and decides to start shooting people. So he opens fire. Now, first of all, I'm going to put this to the peanut gallery. How long do you think it took?
Before
Well, he'd already decided, but like he decided to do it, and then he decided to actually act on it. But whatever the case is,
yeah.
he gets to this area where there's a lot of people all just going out drinking, having a good time, and opens fire. Now, I want to ask you guys, how long did it take for the police to respond to this guy and neutralize him?
So
is he black or is he white?
Doesn't matter. How long did it take for the police to stop him from being able to shoot people?
Where was this? Ohio?
Yes, Ohio. I believe Cleveland or Cincinnati.
I think I heard about this.
Okay, but no, the question is, how long did it take the police to respond to him?
I'm going to guess this is in an area that was shut down, right? So
Yeah,
when
it was.
So let's say I'm going to say an hour and a half.
No, I'm going to say a minute and a half, because think about where we were in Florida. Unless you got the roller skate
we got in
cops
trouble
there.
for jaywalking.
Right.
Yeah, we got in trouble for jaywalking. This is a place that supposedly is going to have police on every other corner.
Supposedly.
I mean, I don't know Ohio. I don't know the landscape of Ohio.
But just imagine, like, we've all been to one of these where they shut a couple city blocks down so that, like, it's a bar district and you can walk around. The cars aren't allowed to park or drive through there, and it's
There's usually a lot of police.
Yes.
Yes, there are. So
So I'm
how
gonna
long did it
say-
take the police to respond?
I'm going to say within 90 seconds. But that's a lot of dead people, by the way.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't know.
Adam, Andres, what are your guesses?
All
5
right.
minutes.
Let's say 3.
Oh, you
Okay.
You already said,
No,
you already said
I
like 90
got
minutes.
a better case of the situation. So
Okay.
we have to wait 3 minutes.
So Justin's the closest. It was somewhere between 30 and 45 seconds.
That was
How
my
many
guess.
people died in that amount of time?
So that's
Either 9 or 11. It was somewhere in that range. So in 30 to 40 seconds, this guy was able to kill 9 to 11 innocent people. The police responded in 30 to 45 seconds. So I don't think that it's realistic for us to say that the police should have responded any faster. The police did their job, and they did it very quickly.
Yeah,
But
police,
because he had a weapon that was designed specifically to fire a lot of high-powered, deadly ammunition quickly, he was able to wipe out a whole bunch of people. And
Well,
you can't
but-
fault the police response.
No, but I think if more people had guns, only 7 or 8 would have died.
Okay, but if you had had a less powerful weapon that couldn't fire as fast and had less powerful bullets, then
The response time would actually matter a lot more.
But what if we
no, the
reduce-
response time wouldn't matter at all. Like the response
we-
time, it's
If we reduce the age to own weapons, then it's more likely that some of the youngsters could have had some weapons, and it would have been even less. Maybe only 3 or 4 people would have
No,
died.
I
never
don't
think
agree
we'd
with
be
that.
allowed
No,
to be
you're being
Sorry, so you're gonna trust an 8-year-old's aim?
Well,
No,
I think if they
don't
learn at
agree
a young
with that
age
at all.
and maybe
All right.
pass some tests.
This is my case for saying that maybe not all guns should be available to all people because, like,
No,
when it comes to being able to defend yourself,
Automatics.
But you know what I realized? I talked to a few people about this just to kind of get a better sense of like how people get a hold of guns that shouldn't. And a lot of times, what has happened is that somebody who could pass a background check is buying guns for other people. In a
straw
black-
purchases.
Yes.
but let's
And that is a huge fucking problem, and it's not changing.
And, it's
And
also
no
a lot
one
more
talks
But it could be
about
changed.
But that's
It could-
but that's what's happening all the time. It's not about better or stronger background checks. They work. It's just the fact that there's a black market that's so unregulated.
Yeah,
and
but
no one in the media
So,
or
most of these mass shootings, the guns are purchased legally with people that went through background checks and
On a-
Exactly.
but on a serious note,
Exactly.
I don't think obviously we should put guns in more hands, and I don't think so. We need to really figure out. It
Well,
looks
that's
like there's no
narrative.
getting around the Second Amendment that people should have guns. A big fear that I have for outlawing certain types of guns is that, I think that people should be able to fight. This sounds bad. Theoretically, people should be able to fight against their government. So if the government becomes a militarized government and tries to take over, and we turn into a dictatorship, or who the hell knows what's going to happen after this election,
Close
that
enough.
there's a certain element of the Second Amendment that
Makes sense.
that the people should be able to protect themselves from the government. Which
that's utterly unrealistic.
but
I agree with
I'm
you.
thinking that in the theory is there. Some of the Second Amendment might have been based on that.
It was, but that was back at a time where like the government and the people all had the same kind of guns. And the
That's
thing
my
is,
point,
the
though.
government, it doesn't matter what you allow citizens to have. The government's going to have soldiers who are trained to do one thing with weapons that are way better.
A lot better than you.
Sure,
And they're also
But-
going to have bombs and other crap that beat your guns.
exactly. So, but
So
my
that
thing
argument,
is that
I don't think that argument you can really use.
I don't know how far you can carry it, but just like you said, part of the Second Amendment initially was to cover that aspect of it. So-
Right.
But now we're dropping that because it's
Well,
unrealistic.
If we want to accept the Second Amendment in its kind of more accepted form right now, which is that everyone has the right to own a gun to either defend themselves in their home or if they want to hunt, I think that you can make, there are a lot of reasonable compromises that you can make while still operating within that framework. So if you ask people who are very well spoken about guns, you ask, what's the best weapon for home defense? You know what their answer is going to be?
Shotgun.
That's correct.
Of course.
Because you don't have to worry about aim because of the spread.
Right.
It's powerful. And the other thing that's really important, I think I heard it from Adam, is the bullets are not going to overpenetrate a wall.
That's not what he says.
That's not what I said.
Oh,
I said it's close range.
oh, well, it's close range, but also like if you've got a high-powered rifle and you fire it at somebody and you miss, that bullet's going to go through like drywall. That'll go through 5 or 6 loads of drywall and still have enough power to kill somebody on the other side. So you're going to have a lot of overpenetration. Whereas a shotgun's not going to overpenetrate a wall. So if you miss, you don't have to worry about endangering other people that shouldn't have been shot. And you've got more range to miss because of the spread and everything. So shotguns are by far the best weapon for home
Okay,
defense.
but now what we need to talk about though is what's an accepted use for guns. Because, we've decided that we're not fighting back against the government. Otherwise, then you have to allow the people to have atomic weapons.
Well, that would, yeah. Let's go there.
So, but that's what I'm saying is there's a cutoff.
Right.
Where do we
So-
establish that is? And I think we base it off of what's a legally accepted use of guns.
Oh, and I already kind of posited
And
that.
if it's not, killing 60 people in 4 minutes,
right. So
then you're wiping automatic weapons off of the table.
right. So what are the what I think the vast majority of people in society would agree that the accepted uses for guns are for hunting and for self-defense. And so pistols are an okay alternative for self-defense because you can they're less likely to overpenetrate than a rifle. They're small and easy to maneuver, and they're easy to operate. They're light, and you can get a couple rounds off pretty quickly. You can use hollow point bullets, which are going to have more stopping power than like a full metal jacket high caliber rifle would, because those are again going to overpenetrate. So pistols, you can make an argument that pistols are that have a legitimate purpose. And then for hunting rifles, you don't need something that shoots at a high rate of fire. If you're hunting, like you generally, a good hunter will tell you should be firing once.
Well, if there's a field full of birds, I think an automatic weapon would really help you achieve your goal there.
All right, so this is where we're going.
I'm just for the record. Yeah, I'm intentionally taking things into an unrealistic place. Just to see if there's any way to actually make that argument.
The only argument I've heard in favor of assault rifles. So if you I don't know how big hunting is in New York City. I'm guessing not too big, but down here in South Carolina, it's really popular. And so I've asked a number of people that I know, either through professional or personal relationships, who hunt. I say, how good is an assault rifle for hunting? And they say, it's not very good. And the reason for that is that an assault rifle's bullets are pretty small caliber. So a .223 is going to be a slightly heavier and longer bullet than a .22 long rifle, which is a pistol, which if you've ever shot a .22, there's virtually no recoil. They're not particularly powerful bullets. You can still kill somebody with one, but in terms of taking down an animal, nobody in their right mind is going to be hunting with a .22. Now, a .223 bullet is a much bigger bullet, but it's designed primarily for war. It's going to have a long range, a really high velocity. It's a small, sharp bullet that overpenetrates, and also it's designed to have relatively low recoil because they were designed for things like M16s, which are fired fully automatic. So you don't want a really heavy, powerful bullet because then the recoil is not going to be controllable if you're at war. So, but if you're trying to take down an animal, 1 2 3 bullet, unless you hit it exactly where you need to, it's going to overpenetrate and not kill the animal. Now the animal is going to be running away wounded. And hunters will tell you the whole idea of hunting is not to make the animal suffer. You want when you shoot the animal, you want it to die as quickly as possible and not run away, because you don't want to be chasing a wounded animal for 3 miles through the woods.
No, but it also, you don't want to make the animal suffer like that either. That's
right. No, hunters all will agree with that. And if they don't agree with that, they shouldn't be hunting.
Where are we making a case for automatic weapons?
There's only one case I can think of.
Which is?
So in certain parts of the South, and South Carolina definitely applies, but it's probably the biggest area is Texas. You have feral boars, these wild boars that are, one, really intelligent. They multiply quickly. They're really dangerous. They've got tusks. They're fast. They're strong. They're heavy. And they do tremendous damage to property and crops. And they travel in packs. So if you're trying to take them out, because population control on wild boars is a big issue. And so hunting wild boars, and I'm serious with this, there's places in Texas where like people will go up in helicopters with fully automatic ARs and just kind of like find these. I'm serious. Like, you look through the videos. It's insane. But like they'll go up in helicopters and they'll be up in the helicopters just taking fully automatic shots at these packs of wild boars. And they're not trying to hunt them. They're trying to just knock down the population. And so if you're on the ground and you fire off a round at a wild boar and it charges you, and there's 7 or 40 of them, that's a case where you might want to have an automatic weapon.
Okay, but
hang on, I'm gonna throw this. We got right here. I just want to see this.
Rifles to us and some good gun grease.
Sorry. So they're going up the elevator.
Actually going
Going up the elevator.
He's in his turban collar. You know, he bought two.
The elevator.
Pretty
That's way to use the coming hero.
All right.
uneasy, but also you get up in there.
James, you can hear this, right?
I can hear it.
Yeah.
I'm not making any of this up.
Oh, my God.
You completely forget about any fears that you have whatsoever. And now you're focusing on the pigs. When you get up there, you think that you, as a shooter, that
So
here he's like he's got 4 or 5 different eyes. I mean, you look down there, you see the hog, you see the coyote, he's got his eyes on the instruments, and his hands are always busy and stuff. But this guy is a machine.
I mean,
That's why they call
merciful.
suppressor.
And he's
So
laughing.
this little rifle, I'm telling you what, it is the sweetest pack.
This is what you shoot like Al Qaeda with.
And so, you get pretty good on the hog. I mean, the hog runs pretty fast.
So, but I got a question for you. If before watching this video, if I had to like describe the guy that's up there in the helicopter,
elevator.
So you know, we ain't got no hogs here. I don't know, rural Louisiana. How you get up here
How
outside?
does this guy afford a helicopter
Yeah,
and
but-
do this?
Well, maybe it's a government thing. But this would have been the guy I described to you. But he's up there. He's shooting the hogs. Okay, so you got a good one. I like that. This is a really good application for
That's the
automatic
only one that I can come up with.
So, guys, if you're watching live, somebody's got to make a case for automatic weapons. 'Cause
I just did.
Someone else. I need another case.
Because you're the first person that's ever done that and shown something like that to me, where I'm like, actually, I can understand it, but I can't understand like trying to go shoot a deer with a semi-automatic.
No,
rifle.
you wouldn't.
You wouldn't.
Just no.
Fill it up
Like
with
shooting a
fucking
deer,
bullets.
you're gonna either use a slug round in a shotgun, or you're gonna use like a high caliber rifle round, like a 30-06.
Exactly.
And you're gonna take one shot, and your aim better be good.
Exactly. Like it doesn't make any sense to me that.
And so I know some people in South Carolina that will hunt these feral hogs, and so they'll have a hunting rifle, just like we described for deer or whatever. But what they'll also have is they'll have like a high caliber revolver, so that way if they hit it and it gets angry and charges them, they'll have like a 45 caliber, like large caliber revolver to defend themselves.
That's self-defense, though.
But right. But the point is, even those guys don't need an automatic weapon. Like the only case that I can come up with is the one that we've already proposed.
So let me ask then. Let me ask the political question then. That's obviously like dancing around the issue here. How does everybody feel about an assault weapons ban?
I've made the case for it.
What about the hogs?
All right. Fuck the hogs.
You can have
deer.
Look.
Because listen, I get the fact that we have an overpopulation of deer, especially in New York State. We have an overpopulation of foxes in certain areas, or wild boar. Whatever it may be, I get that. That's a problem for the government to deal with. I'm talking on an individual person-to-person issue.
Well, you could even
What
have
about
extremely
politically
special
about it?
licenses that are
But
issued
these are
for certain
bills.
types of guns.
This is a bill that's been trying to be passed for 15
Well,
years,
James has a
and this is all of our lifetime. So I want to
James
agree
has
with
a
that.
good point there.
Is like you can issue special types of licenses. So let's say that you need to do the population control on these wild boar, and you actually have a legitimate need for an automatic weapon. You can go ahead and apply for that license and be like, yeah, this is my job. This is what I do. But for the average person, even if you want to defend yourself in your home or whatever, not relevant. So there's always carve-outs that you can make to apply specially for certain things. It works the same way with a silencer, with a suppressor on a weapon. They're not illegal, but you have to go through extra steps to get one. So most people don't have them because there's a lot of work that goes into it. But
Especially
you can
with
still get
silencers,
them.
by the way.
Huh?
Silencers are almost next to impossible to get in most states.
South Carolina, they're relatively easy to get, but there's a lot of expense and there's a lot of paperwork that goes into it.
Sure.
Like if I wanted to get one, I know the people to talk to, and I could make the application tomorrow if I wanted to.
And why are we needing a silencer? And
Well, so here again, since you guys don't deal with guns anywhere near as much as I do, so for hunting, they're actually really useful because, like, hunting rifles are loud. An unsuppressed hunting rifle is really, really loud. And so if you're hunting and you have to wear ear protection to protect your hearing because the gun, here's your ear, here's the gun, like, so you're wearing ear protection when you're hunting, which means that you're not able to listen as well to just your surroundings. I think we can all understand why that would be important for hunting.
Okay.
So if you have a suppressed hunting rifle, it's not going to be silent like in the movies. It's still going to be relatively loud, but it's the difference between being able to forego hearing protection or not. So it's less gear that you have to do. It's less risk to your health, less risk to your hearing, and it allows you to hunt without also, like, it's just you're also less likely to scare off other animals.
Sure. Okay. But
That
when
makes
I,
sense.
but-
I can understand that.
So
but
there's
when, I
the
think
difference.
of, when I think of silencers, I don't think of a
You think
rifle.
James Bond.
I think
Right, but-
of a handgun silencer, and let's make a case for that.
Okay, so here's the thing. The silencers that you hear in the movies, that's not what silencers in real life sound like.
Well, but that's what they sound like in the movies.
Okay, well, you know what else you could do in the movies?
Special effects.
I don't know.
What kind of movies?
But if I live in South Carolina, drive around in a pickup truck, and want to wear a tuxedo and shoot people with my handgun,
Because I have license to kill.
in order to make a silencer as quiet as it is in the movies,
Mhm.
the first thing you're going to need is you're going to need a pistol with subsonic rounds, because a silencer, there's two noises that come from a gun. The first is going to be from the gases expanding as the bullet comes out. As the bullet comes out of the barrel, the gases expand. That creates noise. That's the explosion.
That's a pop sound, right?
The other sound that happens is if the bullet's traveling above the speed of sound, there's a sonic boom that the bullet creates. So if you have a silencer, it's only going to be able to deal with the sound of the expanding gas, where the silencer gives extra room for the gas to expand and expand more slowly, and it reduces the sound of the expanding gas. If the bullet is still supersonic, there's going to be a sonic boom from the bullet, and it's still going to be pretty loud. Now, if you have subsonic rounds, and you can mitigate the sound of the expanding gas down to almost nothing, and the bullet's not creating a sonic boom, now you can get into territory where the gun is actually scary quiet. But hunting rifles aren't going to be able to do that. You're not going to want to hunt with subsonic rounds because they have very limited range. Even rifles that are designed to have that shoot subsonic rounds have a maximum range of about 200 to 300 yards, and at that range, you have to deal with significant bullet drop. So
we're gonna need you to throw some of these. We'll Venmo you if you could grab some of this stuff at the local Walmart sporting good department.
We would love some sound.
Just throw it in a FedEx, pat it out, and just.
one of my clients is a gun range in Charleston.
It's
So-
not the one on that we went to, was it? 'Cause that was cool.
It's not. It's a very similar business concept, but I can't say which which gun shop is in Charleston for
Yeah,
privacy
sorry,
reasons.
yeah,
But one of the gun ranges in Charleston is one of my clients that I work with monthly. So I see their sales reports. I see all this kind of stuff. But yeah, so subsonic rounds are not really practical for hunting. And if you're defending yourself, you don't really care how loud it is because you know what? Great, I'm defending myself. I want it to be loud.
Yeah, sound is better.
Hey, James, can I ask you a question? With everything going on with the election and everything else, have you seen their sales reports go up for the past 3 months?
So, yes, for this client, so March is kind of the inflection point for when COVID really started making an impact in the United States. I think we can all agree on that.
I agree.
So March was their best sales month ever. And it was like, so this place had been operating at a loss for a while. And then it's kind of really been since March that they have really turned it around.
That's
It's kind of, it's regressed a little bit, but they're still profitable. But like March, April, and part of May was probably the busiest period of time that this range had ever seen.
That's so interesting because I've heard a lot that since a lot of people that weren't really into guns, and I even heard this on another podcast. Shout out to Joe Rogan. But my friend,
what was
Joe
that
Rogan,
podcast called, Adam?
So my point that I'm saying is Well, listen, if anyone wants to give us a shout out too, we'd all appreciate that. I don't think we would. But I heard from what he was saying that a lot of people that are super against guns, because there are people that have their own moral issues about having guns or owning guns and whatnot.
Or just
totally
personal
fine.
experiences.
Everybody is allowed to have their own perspective. But that being said, a lot of those people, when COVID hit and when things went on lockdown, a lot of people changed their minds about owning a gun and having
Especially with the
personal
riots.
safety. And I totally understand that because us three lived in New York City during a time where I saw maybe 4 or 5 people on a street like Broadway every day for 2 months. And
I don't know what you mean by that.
we didn't see anybody. We didn't see anyone. I saw 2 or 3 people
It was not many people.
on a daily basis.
In New York City. In New York City.
And that's really scary. And then when the rioting,
hold on, let me explain.
All right.
In New York City, when there's not a lot of people out there, if you're on a busy block, you're safer than when you're on a block and there's not many people. That's where Adam's going with that. When there's 2 or 3 people on a block, a block long, it's easier for somebody to take advantage of you because there's not as many eyes on what's going on.
Sure. And I
Just to
appreciate
provide
you.
some context to what you're saying.
I appreciate that. Thank you. So what I was saying though is that I truly see where a lot of those people are coming from. Now, for myself, I've never been against guns or for guns. I'm kind of indifferent about a lot of it, but like I get the perspective on both sides. Like owning a gun, especially if you're in a rural area, like having a gun for yourself for safety. What if you're like 30 minutes away from the nearest fire department or police station? You live in a rural area like Wyoming or Idaho. Like owning a gun makes total sense. We're gonna wait 30 minutes for the cop to show up because you're so far away and like a
Right. So I
30
think that
acre land. Like
I think to your point, that's where some of the people that are ardently against guns lose the narrative. Is
Yeah.
that there are some people that it very much makes sense to own guns, and that's why I don't think any of us have been making the case for the complete abolition. But I think we can all agree that there's probably some common sense changes that can be made that would increase safety overall.
Yeah, of course.
I
Like
agree.
semi-automatic weapons shouldn't be allowed. Automatic or semi-automatic weapons, or like.
Well, you could have a semi-automatic handgun.
Whatever isn't that kill.
well, we can all get on board about the rocket launcher though, right? Like we don't need a rocket launcher.
Yo, flamethrowers are legal in most states.
I know, but we don't need a rocket launcher or a flamethrower. Like what
Yo, a flamethrower would be pretty awesome. Someone comes into your house.
it's
All
awesome.
right.
It's awesome on Halo and Call of Duty, but
I
let's be real. In
Well-
reality, you shoot a rocket launcher at someone, you're gonna blow up someone's house.
No, a rocket launcher
Or
is
a
too much
building.
with a flamethrower. I mean, imagine if someone tries to invade your house and you get a flamethrower.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna probably put my own house in flames.
So, James, you lost your something's up.
Protection or not?
We can't hear you too well.
Your audio went out a little bit.
Oh, well,
That may be the issue.
no, I didn't turn it on mute, but sometimes the switch gets a little weird.
No, we still can't hear you too well.
You're-
Is that better now?
Our volume's up.
Nope.
Yeah, so that's a good point. And Daisy just said you have to defend yourself when you're 45 minutes from town. Basically, 45 minutes from the police are 45 minutes from you.
Right, we're all agreeing with that.
We still can't hear you, James.
Fuck.
So it's we're getting a little feedback. That's better. It's louder than you're speaking. But I think
Are we good now?
no,
Nope.
like a whisper.
Are you sure it's not
I won't be cutting this out of the post-produce.
That's fine. I don't care.
Maybe just play with it a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Hold on.
But I always would argue that the
All right.
world. You're good. I always would argue that
All right, I
the
don't know
world
what's going on. Whatever, we're good now.
would be a safer place if there were less guns. And then somebody will make the argument that there are guns, and what about your security? And I think that's really kind of selfish, but smart and responsible.
Well,
way to-
also think about it like this, because this is something that also gets lost. Is imagine from two perspectives. If you all right, so let's start from the policeman's perspective.
Okay.
There's a shooting. and you show up to it as the policeman to help out and probably kill the person who just started shooting, right?
Fair.
So what happens if there's other people there with guns that are also trying to help,
Yeah.
but they have their guns out
Yeah.
and they're trying to find the person who started the shooting? You as the policeman show up, and now
We don't know anything. We talked about the police. The police show
Right.
up. They don't know what's going on.
right, so you don't know who's the good guy and who's the bad guy, because they're all going to be dressed like just normal people. So how do you know the people that have the guns out that are trying to help versus the person or persons that have the guns out that aren't trying to help? How, as a police officer, do you make that decision? And the answer is, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Well,
if
look
you
how
run
much-
the risk of you shooting somebody who shouldn't have been shot because they had a gun out and you couldn't tell whether or not they were helping.
Well, I want to say to that, like, look at the current problem with police training or their lack of, which is why we shouldn't be defunding the police. We should be funding them more to making sure they have actual proper training.
Separate discussion.
I will
Separate
say-
discussion.
You're going to-
hang on, let me just finish because then I have a connecting point to this. Most cops in New York City, and this comes directly from a captain in New York City, in Manhattan, most cops are taught to shoot for the chest. So they're not looking for that kind of identity on when you have multiple people holding guns.
Right,
They're
but it doesn't
at-
matter. Like,
they're gonna point
the wrong
gun
person
wherever
might
they
get shot in the
see
chest.
A moment of where they need to defend themselves and other people.
So,
But-
Max,
No,
James,
So
Max
I see
says
more
hi,
deaths.
by the way.
That's my point.
Max, do you, Max, you own a gun out there in Colorado, in the suburbs? Hopefully he'll give us an answer. Sorry, James. Sorry to interrupt. Adam wants to give more money to the police, and what are your thoughts?
we're not addressing those points because I don't think it's not a matter of training. It's that it doesn't matter how well you are trained. It's if multiple people have their guns out, it's impossible for you to tell who's helping and who's the problem.
I agree. And you can, but you got to sit there and wait. And
Right, that
watch
takes time
and
to
observe.
evaluate.
It takes time. And
And sometimes,
bullets fly
as we
really
talked
fucking
about, the
fast.
difference of 30 seconds can mean the difference of 10 people's lives.
Yeah, right. I agree. But that was my point of the training factor, that they're just going to wind up creating more chaos than solutions.
Right,
Well,
that's
what
why I'm
that-
saying more people having guns doesn't necessarily help. And also, again, let's assume that the police are trained well for this argument. So if you've got random people that have guns that are trying to handle a situation, most of them aren't going to have the training. So they might not handle themselves the way a trained policeman would. And we can argue about whether or not police have the right training or not. That's another topic for a separate discussion. Let's just assume that the police are trained well and doing their job well. They're going to do their job better than your average person who went through a one-day class to get handle a situation.
That makes
Sorry about
sense. That makes sense.
Right. So I would say less people having guns out in public is going to cause less problems in general. Also, I don't know if you guys have ever been in a situation where there was a fight or anything else and then somebody pulls a gun.
Yeah, I was in the Bronx once.
Right. So whenever that happens, it immediately escalates the situation. It doesn't calm things down.
I can only imagine.
So
I once had a gun pointed at me, and I did not know if I would survive. And if I had a gun on me,
Was it a girl?
I would have fired the first shot. James, we talked about this in a previous podcast, right?
one of them,
We
but
talked about sexual harassment.
Yeah. What about
Well,
the gun?
yeah. But my whole point is that while I understand the argument that if everybody has a gun, there would be less violence, I think that is way too optimistic a viewing, and more realistically, it complicates matters much more. And
Especially in the society that we're living now, if you have a gun and you have a kid that is like completely, reckless, especially kids starting from the age of 15 to 25, they haven't developed their senses
Well,
quite
you gotta
yet.
lock up your
So
gun.
exactly, their emotions are not well developed, and I don't think that they can control themselves the same way that we can control ourselves. So they might be able to grab a gun from their parents and just go out there and be like, "Fuck it, I had a horrible day. I'm just gonna go kill people left and right." Because
but
actually happens. And if there's more people with guns in their hands, more chaos is gonna be made.
So
From my
to
point of view,
to
that's
the
what I
credit of everybody that I've met in South Carolina that owns guns, they've been responsible with it. Where they don't, if they have guns in the house, they're locked up in a place where the kids can't get to, and I like that's just part of like
But
the basic rules of gun ownership.
But
is
you
that
were also a teenager at one point. If my parents had a gun hidden in the house, one, I would know every aspect. I would probably I would know where the key was. I would know where the
Right, but if
You're
it's
a
in a
teenager.
lock safe,
That makes sense, though.
if it's either a combination safe or a biometric safe, then the kids aren't going to be able to get into it.
But I can get my dad drunk and get the gun. I'll be like, hey, dad, let's go drinking.
Look, you can come up with a workaround for any situation if you
But
want.
I'm saying that teenagers and middle schoolers, high schoolers and middle schoolers especially, are going to be way more apt at breaking in and getting these things.
Again, you can
Just
come
to
up with a
play around with
workaround for any situation if you want.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's very likely. I mean, just think about the liquor that we used to drink, and
Yeah, it was in an unlocked cabinet,
when we were but
and there was no lock on the lids.
we also lit like portions of acres on fire in my backyard and driveway.
Right, because it was legal for us to buy gasoline.
Sure, we didn't buy gasoline. We found gasoline, and
Okay, but was
Was
it locked up? Was it secured?
there was one time. I'm pretty sure you were there for this. But there was probably a couple times. There was one time accidentally. Once we realized it wasn't really a big issue, we did it again. But we would go down to the garage, a lawnmower, gas tanks in the garage. We'd go down and we would fill Gatorade bottles with gas. And then we go back in the backyard. We light army guys and shit on fire and stuff. So one time,
What's wrong with you?
I don't know. You're
Yo, it was fun.
So and
We
I
lit
mean,
a tennis ball on fire once. Yo, remember when we lit the tennis ball on fire and then we hit it?
well, hang on, we'll play tennis in a second. But we were lighting shit on fire on the table, and then all of a sudden, the gasoline container went. Oh, the whole wooden picnic table went.
And this was during a drought.
No
It
way.
was, yeah.
No way.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah, we also
Beth,
soaked
your
a
mom
tennis
was
ball
fucking
in
buzzed.
gasoline.
She had no idea. So yeah, we used to have a tennis net across a big driveway, a tennis net across the driveway, and we would soak the tennis balls
In fire.
in gasoline,
Gasoline to make
and
fire.
then light them on fire, and then play tennis. Used to light your arm on fire, and then put gasoline on your arm, and then. And I mean, I don't know.
Singe all the hair.
What? You guys didn't have a childhood.
Yeah.
Not like that.
No, I usually try not to light myself on fire. I did the normal
we
suburban
we
lifestyle.
wrote in 40.
At fucking 12 years old, that normal shit what humans do. Not just abnormal, I light myself on fire.
No, we would write help.
Who does that?
We would write messages in gasoline.
Terrorists?
We could write messages in gasoline 40 feet long.
No, I
And then
pissed
light
in a
them.
snow stream. That's what I did to break my name, man. I didn't fucking let me light my fucking half my body on fire and be like, dude, that was so cool, man.
Well,
That's fucked up.
We grew up- we
maybe
didn't-
you could just see some.
I just used to drink and black out and pass out. That was my childhood.
Yeah.
That was it.
We didn't.
I wasn't that far.
Look, we had to figure out fun things to do. It wasn't hey, your parents didn't bring you $400 worth of clothes and say, try these on for the next 2 days.
I remember we
Your
poured
parents were
gasoline.
doors locked, stay outside.
Do you remember when we
yeah,
poured
I-
gasoline down the
I-
anthill and then it caused an explosion about 10 feet away?
I mean, listen, I also sunk a boat too. I sunk a little sailboat in the middle of the bay that my dad gave me as to teach myself how to sail. So I
Did
learned.
you light it on fire?
No, but I learned how to sail, and I've been sailing since I was a little kid. But to
And I
have
sailed as well.
fun, I was sailing and it was windy, and then I would throw the boat over and flip it over for fun, but it wound up sinking. And then me and 3 other friends got stranded in the middle of the bay for 3 hours in the water. That was great at 12 years old. I had nothing to I had no life jacket. I was hanging on the keel
So
for 2 hours.
So to answer Byron, who's asking about Bud Light Lime, Byron, I would pass on the Bud Light Lime. I would get a better beer.
I would recommend Bud Ice.
It's not what it's about, man.
Bud Ice. So
And
let's.
Byron, I miss you, buddy. I hope all is well.
So we digress a little bit here. It's going to get back on track.
About the guns
I
and
think.
shooting people.
Well, shooting people is really the greater topic here because
Sure.
nobody's worried about guns when it comes to wild boars. Nobody's worried about guns when it comes to target practice. People are worried about guns when it comes to getting shot.
Wait, can I just ask one simple question? I may be a simpleton to ask this question, but James, do people eat wild boar down in South Carolina?
Is it
I'm sure some
edible?
people do.
Is it edible? Is
Yeah,
wild
is it
wild
like
boar edible?
I feel like it's
It's
gonna
like
be
pork?
so gamey, right?
Is it like
Yeah, it would be a really lean meat because the pork that you get in a store or whatever is going to be farm raised or whatever, and it's going to be fed to be. First of all, they're not going to be getting too much exercise. It's going to be a really fatty meat compared to wild boar. Wild boar is extremely lean, and yeah, probably gamey would be a good description for it. I've never had it, but I don't think that it's really considered to be like a game animal like you would deer, where people eat deer all the time. But wild boar, the reason why people hunt it is because they're really bad pests.
Understood.
Okay.
I mean, I only wanted to know because
So-
we've been talking about it for so
So,
long.
but I mean, I don't think we've come up with much of a good justification for automatic weapons.
No,
I
because
don't
there
think-
isn't one.
But
I
I
don't-
think there, yeah, exactly. I agree with James. Like there
So-
isn't an actual real case to have.
Right. So I don't think we've come up, and we've tried. I mean, I've tried,
There just isn't one.
but I don't think you have a really good case for weapons of mass destruction when it comes to individuals. I don't mean fucking atomic weapons, but I mean on like a regular person level, mass destruction is being able
Assault
to kill.
rifles don't serve any legitimate purpose because they're not good for self-defense. They're not good for hunting. What are they good at? They're good for mass shootings.
Yeah, and zombies. So, and given
Well,
it's
yeah, give
2020,
coronavirus a little bit more time. Just wait until like 3 months from now we hear about all these people that died in China coming back out of the grave.
That would be so awesome, man. That would be a great
No,
novel.
no,
I would
the
watch
people
that.
that got,
I would watch that
their
movie that would be
vaccine.
made.
There's a vaccine that was developed and now it's been tested in Russia.
In Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so just
zero-
wait for one of those two things.
Zero
Zero
trials.
data. Zero data on any of it.
Yeah, but
It's
just
just
wait
about-
for 2020 to do its
They're
work
just
and like
killing
maybe.
the people that aren't taking the vaccine well. So the numbers are so baked. They're like,
Yeah, but
everyone's
the
healthy.
point is, with the exception of wild boars, zombies, or if you want to go and like do a mass shooting, then like you don't really need an automatic weapon.
These are the conversations.
But
led in
how else?
2020. I'm
How
scared.
else? How else? Like, what's the best solution to avoid more mass shootings?
Ban assault weapons for one,
Ban on assault weapons, automatic weapons.
Look at Las
or
Vegas.
the semi-automatic long
That was
rifles.
insane.
Say
What?
that again, James.
Ban the semi-automatic long rifles. So the things like AR-15s and their corollaries.
Yep.
They're analogs. You don't need those.
Do they make automatic crossbows?
Extended
Do
magazines.
they make
all
semi?
that
No,
shit
do they
is-
make semi-automatic crossbows, or is that not a thing?
No, that's,
They might, but you know
That's
what?
from the
Like,
vintage. That's okay.
yeah.
Oh, no,
I
no,
mean,
We
massive-
live in reality, man.
yeah, I don't think we need to worry about the crossbow user.
I understand that, but that's what I'm getting at. Is like you can slow people. How fast do you? What application are you needing to shoot that fast?
Wild boars is the only one I can come up with.
Yeah. Livers. Can you guys think of any application for shooting rapidly? That rapidly? Because my only thing is fighting back against the government.
But that's
But
that-
for what?
That's
I mean,
it's a
listen,
lost.
we may,
It's a lost
we may hit
cause.
that. Like, I also feel like we are at a point of civil war to some extent. Like,
yeah, but even then, like the government's gonna win.
of course they're gonna win, but I also feel like a lot of people are super fed up with the way the whole country is run. And coronavirus really exposed all of that to a
Sure,
point where
but-
it ripped open a scab and stitches, man. Like people are.
Yeah, but
so
Firing
frustrated.
bullets at the government isn't gonna get you anywhere.
No, but if everybody tried to overthrow the government, that's 360 million people versus
A full
What?
army, the best army in the world.
538 members of Congress. Like, get
But
the
that's
fuck
not what's
No,
gonna
the government's
happen.
not gonna fight. They
No.
have the army. They have the National Guard.
They have the army,
all
yes,
this.
but the
But-
army is also an American person.
Yeah, but also
I
remember,
don't think they're gonna
not
go
you don't
out.
have all
They're not gonna go
330
for
million
violence
people on this.
like that.
remember, you don't have all 330 million people on board here. You've got, like, at best, you'd probably be able to do 60-40, where 60% wants to overthrow the government, the other 40 is on board. So it's really 60-40, and the 40% has the government on their side. So good luck.
Agreed. I'm not.
I
I'm
don't.
not arguing
I
that.
don't think you're ever going to get more than like 2% on on any of that.
I'm saying, even optimistically, you get all 60% of the country that's fed up or whatever. They're still fighting 40% of the country that also has guns, plus the government that has better guns.
You know, you are such an optimist, James, and your World War III, your Civil War II.
What I'm saying is, don't even try it. Like,
I
come up
agree.
with a better way.
Trust me, I'm not.
I agree.
That's why my candidate's Giant Meteor.
Giant medium.
Meteor.
Oh, meteor. Ah, cool. I gotta get that bumper sticker.
All right. So I want to do, because we're late on this, and that's my bad. Everybody here has already been a part of SipTalk, so I appreciate all you guys. It's nice to have all you guys in one place. We have James Boswell. I don't know what screen you're looking at. In our vision, he's right here. James the Bosnator Boswell, accountant extraordinaire, professional soccer referee, bartender, philosopher. Am I missing anything?
Apparently gun expert.
Apparently, yeah, no. I mean, like, you use terms and phrases, talk about bullets and velocity and
name of rifles.
semi-sound, sonic.
Sound
I mean, it's way over our head. So, and I prefer it be over my head than into my head. So that's my preferred. We got Andres, the Battagliator. Alcohol connoisseur. And what are you drinking?
BC. It has antioxidants and vitamin C.
I'm not gonna believe that for a minute. It's alcohol, guys. Don't even.
Super
buy it.
basic.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
alcohol in it.
like give me a break.
It's White Claw on steroids.
Yeah.
And then we also have Adam, who's in the band, and he's a great musician.
Although I haven't played
And that was
in
it.
15 years.
That's an inside. It's an inside joke. Is Adam's last name is Sindaban, but someone read his name once as one word, and they just
Adam's in the band.
Adam's in the band,
man.
So
I don't know which one, but I'll prove with either one.
Adam may not be much of a musician, except when his parents forced him to play piano. He does have a nice piano in his house.
I haven't played it in 20 years.
But Byron, you're right. It's really tough to justify automatic and semi-automatic weapons.
Is anybody
trying hard? I'm fighting back almost sarcastically because
is anybody out there making an argument for it? What are the comments?
I haven't. The Columbine High School Massacre.
That's not everything started.
Sure, yeah. Well, it's not how everything started, but
that was the more.
It was
That was the most famous one early on.
I mean, I was in Ecuador when I heard about it, and it was. I think I had to do a paper as well.
That was 1999.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. I had to do a paper when I was back in.
Well, so the weapons that the Columbine shooters had were Tech 9 pistols, which are 9mm.
Which is.
So.
Or?
No, semi-automatic pistols, but they can still be like probably a 20, maybe even a 30-round extended magazine, and 20 round would probably be normal, but they might have had extended magazines. I'd have to do the research. Not that I really want to look it up because it's just depressing. But even with the 20-round magazine, it takes you a trained shooter, someone who's practiced can change a magazine in a second and a half or faster. And then you've got 20 more bullets. And you can those ones are going to fire pretty much as fast as you can pull the trigger. It's just a 9mm round is going to have different properties than a 5.56.
Dan Morgan, my friend from ABC, he'd like to know, James, he's got a question for you. For self-defense, and I had to read this question a few times because I didn't even understand what he was saying.
I think I got
But
it.
I believe you will. I read the question 3 times. But he said, for self-defense, birdshot, buckshot, or birdshot, buckshot?
You're going to want to go with buckshot is probably more of a term for so birdshot is going to be a finer gauge, smaller pellets. Because if you use buckshot on a bird like a duck or whatever, you're just gonna have feathers. You're not gonna have much dropping out of the sky. So if you like birdshot, unless you get shot in the head or the heart, you're gonna be probably okay. You're not gonna feel great, but you're gonna survive.
But birdshot is not penetrating as.
No, but that was like Dick Cheney's friend.
Right.
A bird shot in the back of that in the side.
Right. So yeah, you're not going to feel great, but you're probably going to survive. So you definitely want to go with like buckshot. Like the standard is going to be like a 12 gauge, because like in a 12 gauge round in a shotgun shell, there's I don't know the number. I think it's somewhere between 6 and 10 like lead pellets that are in there, and each one of those pellets is going to have approximately the same energy as a 9mm bullet. No, they have a different shape and they have different range and a different velocity, but so if you've got buckshot or whatever, imagine that you're basically, if you hit your target, that's between 6 and 10 9mm bullets all hitting their target. So buckshot will definitely do the job, and the nice thing about it is it doesn't overpenetrate. So for self-defense, you're gonna want just like a medium to short stock shotgun with 12 gauge. And again, it's going to have spread, and yeah, there's going to be a crap load of recoil, but you're not going to care about a sore shoulder, and you're not going to care about having to make the second shot, because there is so much power from what's likely to be less than a 10-meter range.
Hey, James, can I ask you a question? Have you ever shot a shotgun before?
No, I have not. I have shot a 22 LR out of a rifle and a pistol, and then I've shot 9mm 38 special and 357 SIG and maybe 10mm. So I don't have a ton of experience, but I've got so many friends down here.
No experience.
But it's funny because, and I talked about this on a previous podcast, but I went to a shooting range in New York City, and we took an hour-long course. There may have been a test involved. I don't remember. Don't hold me to that. But I know it was an hour-long class. And then you go to a range and you shoot a 22. Which doesn't feel much different than a BB.
Yeah, marginally more recoil, but
not
yeah.
Like you could shoot a 22 and think that it was a BB gun.
Yeah.
So but an hour-long course and you shoot a 22. 22 is it was I don't know, one of these
like a rifle.
Yeah.
It's probably a 20 like a Ruger.
So no, it was I don't know. But you held it like this, not like this. All right, you held it like this. So
it's probably a 22 LR, but like in a rifle, like a small rifle.
That's what I'm thinking.
A smaller rifle.
That's in my head.
Maybe about this long.
Yeah, those are really great for training.
And but I did this. It was a nice time. And then I went down to South Carolina. I told James that I had done this, and he goes, "Oh, we can just go to the range. I'll bring you down there." We go to the range, and now we had to like fill out a form. We had to give them ID in New York. Right. Give them ID. We had to fill out like a background check, references, things like that. I roll up with James. We pull up to the store, glass front store. We go inside. It's like in a shopping mini mall, like a mini mall in the suburbs. And we go inside, and James talks to the guy. The guy goes ID. So I put my ID on the counter. James is just he's like, "Oh, that one." And that one. And
I had a membership at the time, so they knew me.
The guy puts all these guns in a basket, and James walks away. And I was like waiting for the guy. I'm like, "Are we good?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "But my ID." He goes, "Yeah, you can take it with you."
Yeah, they gave you ear protection. They gave you the guns with the slides released, empty magazine and everything, and the bullets like separate in the basket. And so you just go, like you give them the ID. They're like, "All right, yeah, you're good." And then you just go to the range and you just load the magazine up. Load it, release the slide, and then just start shooting at targets.
Holy shit.
But that was it. I mean,
like the first time I went, I had never shot a gun before. And so they asked me, said, "Have you ever shot a gun before?" I'm like, "No." And they're like, "Okay, cool. Well, we've got a guy on the range. He'll walk you through it." And so, they gave me the gun, they gave me the bullets, and they started me up with the 22. And then the guy at the range said, "All right, cool, man. So here's some of the rules. Like you always have the bullet, the barrel pointed down range, so that way if anything happens it shoots that way, not here." And then he showed me just the mechanics of how you load the bullets in the magazine, how you put the magazine in the gun, how you release the slide, all the basics of how a gun works, and then just some of the basic mechanics of how you hold the gun, like the proper technique and everything. and the entire process from start to finish was 5 to 10 minutes. And then
Yeah.
Why haven't we done this?
Well, I'm
I
really,
would love to learn how to do
my,
that.
you know, my favorite gun is. James, you have a favorite gun?
His favorite gun. That's what he usually
what type of gun are we talking? Like,
Well, my favorite's that orange and gray one that comes with the Nintendo original NES. For
Duck Hunt.
Yeah, for the Duck Hunt
the
gun.
NS64.
No.
you want?
The first one.
The Nintendo from 19.
Remember the duck?
Regular, yeah. Well, that's
Yeah,
right.
The dog will come
Right,
out
dog,
and it's like,
I always liked that gun, and it had a little bit of haptic feedback on that.
Yeah, there's a little clicky mechanism in the trigger. No, you want to ask me my favorite gun in terms of real guns? I have to break it up in terms of like handgun, submachine gun, assault rifle, and sniper rifle.
Submachine.
Well, I'm just curious, you know, if it's like a nice sunny Sunday and you want, you know, to go shoot some stuffs.
Yeah.
Which is your gun?
For the pistol, I love the FN 5.7 pistol because the manufacturer, it's a Belgian manufacturer, FN,
Okay.
and the pistol is called the 5.7 pistol, 5.7 pistol. The 5.7 round is a pretty unique round to pistols, and where most pistols most pistol rounds kind of like are snub nosed and relatively short, whereas the 5.7 rounds basically look like mini rifle bullets that you load into the pistol.
They do. They really.
Yeah.
You know, we got an image. We got a nice image of.
Yeah. So I love the 5.7 as a pistol. For a submachine gun, the classic Heckler & Koch MP5, just because it's a classic design. It's extremely reliable. It shoots 9mm bullets. The MP5K is also really cool looking. But both of those are just classic designs that are used worldwide by security forces. And a submachine gun is going to be a automatic weapon that's going to be slightly smaller than a fully automatic rifle. And the difference between a rifle and a submachine gun is that submachine guns shoot pistol rounds versus long rifle bullets. For assault rifles, I like the Heckler & Koch G36.
What is this?
And
I've always kind of wanted one of those. They're
the G36?
Yeah.
Oh,
The G36 is a really sweet AR.
just for the record, you're getting a lot of negative feedback from the ladies talking about guns.
But you know what? Like,
But if I was James Bond, I would want that gun. I gotta defend myself. I mean,
you know what? Like, it's not like I was doing great with the ladies before. So you know what? We might as well just.
So, look, I think. I think we may wrap on the gun talk. You know, I think we do owe it to get into politics over the next few weeks.
I've already got some phrases loaded up.
I got a great drinking game for the first debate, man. Let me tell you.
Well, but let's get into the politics the next time. I think
I thought we were supposed to be talking about what was it? The topic of last on Tuesday.
Emotional support animals.
That and why the only reason why girls wear makeup is so. Wait, how was it? What was? The only reason why girls wear makeup is because guys fall in love with what they see, and the only reason why guys lie to girls is because girls love to hear what they want to hear. Right? And we had something going on about that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't want to get anyone in trouble in that conversation, but I will say, in terms of politics, this election is so wacky, and business-wise, it's been tough, man. I feel like every business person I talk to, or anyone that owns a business, has said the same thing. Until this election is over, we are sort of stuck in a rut until things calm down.
Vote giant meteor.
Yeah, I just feel like the next, 30 days or 40 days or something like that, until that ends.
We got about 6 weeks to go.
Through this topsy-turvy environment
so
where no
let's-
one feels comfortable to make a move.
Let's figure out a good angle, and we'll see where we can go with this. On that note, though, James, we're going to part ways. We will conclude episode 41. Don't forget, Andres had a good idea for episode 50. So I think that could be. I think that
50,
could be
isn't it? 41.
42.
well, no, I'm saying for episode 50. So
Oh.
this is 41, but
For me to come up to New York?
I think that's not a bad
We
idea.
need to talk about the logistics of that because it's possible that I might not be able to leave New York if I come up.
Sounds great. So we're gonna sign off. James, appreciate you taking part.
So we're gonna pick up that Russian vaccine and we'll be fine.
And I will. I'll catch up with you soon.
Take care, man.
Peace
Adios.
out, guys.
See ya.
Bye.
Thank you so much for watching our gun episode. Let me know what you thought in the comments. If you haven't already subscribed, well, we're talking about guns, so better subscribe.